I'm Spence Graham, chairman of the Digital Signage Federation, and you're watching and listening to the AV Life.
I am Murphy Daly, IT and AV project manager, and you're joining us for the AV Life.
Greetings from Kansas City. This is Renee Benson, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
James here, the writer for the Higher Ed AV Digital Magazine, IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert at the AV Life Pod, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life. All right. Well, welcome back to our listeners, and welcome to the crew and to our guests. We got a bigger house of people tonight, so it's a good time. It's always a good time though, right? Like even when it's just us as the crew.
Yep.
Yeah. So how are we all doing today?
But hanging in there.
So good.
Good.
The
We're feeling
word-
good after a good long weekend. Everyone have a good Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun.
Did a little vacay, so I feel like I need a day off to recover from my vacation, but yes, it was great.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
I was going to say, I'm sure you guys saw my tweet about people not following social distancing Monday. That still like bothers me. Like on the ride, and this girl digs her head into the side of my body. Like,
What?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Does
not
some-
okay, even when there is COVID going
your
on. Like,
wife
this is my
around?
bubble.
What was that?
Was your wife around?
No, she wasn't on the ride. She was with the
Stepping in.
baby. So I was with my daughters, and no, this was just somebody who didn't understand boundaries, because even during the queue line, she kept stepping on my daughter's feet and elbowing them, and yeah, she just had no clue of boundaries.
So was
And
that
this is
Did you
mask?
explain them to them, as my daughter used to say?
I wasn't going that route. Just put it this way, they did not speak English.
oh,
So, and
So
I mean,
you
it was not
avoided an international incident, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, but okay.
Yeah.
Could have given them the international.
Yeah.
This is my space. This is
Yeah.
yours.
You
see, that's why we
did-
should all be able to carry sticks, and it's like back it up.
I did to Jerry Seinfeld, I gave him the eye look, and then I gave him the eye roll. Like, come on, don't you get these clues?
yeah.
Some people just don't. That's the even scarier part, is like you don't, that you try to end a conversation or something with some people and they just don't get it. It's like, yeah, all right, we're done talking, so could you stop? Like, please.
How it is in the
let me-
Midwest, man. That's how it is in the Midwest. You try to leave somebody's house and you stand at the door saying, okay, I gotta go for 15 minutes before you actually find your way out the door.
So my mom's bad at that. Like, there's times I've actually have left the house and came back and she's still talking. Didn't realize I left. Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, so I had a coworker of mine, Erica, and you brought this up. He's exactly like that. I'll be talking to him and I will walk out the door and he is still following me, talking to me as I am walking, to the point where I'm standing at my car with the car door open, ready to sit down. Yeah, this is what I got going on. And like, just okay, I think the distance should tell you we are done here. But yeah, he just
Okay,
doesn't
It's normal. That's
I got-
normal, but it's
I took
Go
a
ahead.
personality test this weekend. It was another one I was excited about, and it was a little different than the usual, like Myers-Briggs, whatever. And it had this ranking of different things they tracked you on, and it turns out I rank very, very high in compassion. I care about other people a lot. Very, very high in compassion. However, I'm
No.
definitely below the middle in politeness. Yeah, like 30%. I'm like, I get a D.
So what
an F.
percentile does that go back to percentiles? What does that put you in?
So I'm like a 95% of compassion, but I'm kind of like 37 on politeness. I'm like,
feel like you still fail at that. Like that still brings you below like a failing grade. Like
I don't know, dude.
I think you're
I'd
gonna
have to
work
do the
on that.
math.
Do,
But
do they have those word clouds or anything like that associated to 95 versus, 45?
Well, but I thought, I wonder what that means. Basically, I'm like, I'm willing to have compassion on you and tell you hard truths.
What a
Okay, maybe,
yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm sorry that shirt is not for you.
It's like I love you, but no, it's not for
No,
you. Like,
back in the house.
It's for
Go
your
in the
own
Yeah.
good.
house. I used
Go
to get
back
that
in,
from my
try
I
again.
got that from my daughter. No, get back in the house. Get back in the house.
I think I'm pretty polite, but then again, maybe I'm just totally wrong. I'm missing it, but I care. I don't want to hurt you, but I'm just gonna say,
Well, before we get too deep,
Interesting.
let me introduce our guests, and then we can keep going with this. So we've already kind of introduced her, but Erica Williams, welcome back. Give the folks, if they haven't heard from you before, a little bit about yourself, and we'll keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Erica Williams. I am the manager of AV and collaboration at Henderson Engineers. Yes, we are an engineering firm, but I do not do engineering. All in-house stuff to keep our 12 national offices all connected and running together, communicating. Zoom is my second language. It's at that point, that's pretty much all you need to know.
Master.
Well, welcome back, Erica. And Erica was one
Thank
of our
you.
AV rock stars, and she came back for more punishment, I guess, from us. So
Y'all are a good time, man. Honestly, when I heard from Renee that she invited me to be here, I was super excited. It's always a pleasure for sure.
yeah,
It's
well, we're
always fun to
definitely
watch a
Yeah.
train wreck.
Exactly.
When you throw me in there in the mix, yeah.
Well, if Ozzy wrote Crazy Train for a reason, so we're going off the rails, and that's what we do. So and back again as well, another repeater, David Pequeño. How are you, sir?
Good, I'm good. Three-timer now, so I don't know if I get like an
Three-timer.
award or something.
Yeah.
But
Well,
There
there
is.
are a few. There are a few ahead of you still. So you're moving up the ranks, so that's good.
yeah,
So-
I'll
You
get
know
to
what
Steve, I'll
award
get
you
to
get,
Steve
David?
Martin level. What's up?
Oh, okay.
The award you get, Joe Way's book.
Nice. Yes.
Oh.
Perfect plug. Great.
No, but that means we got to buy the book, though, James. No, wait, we got to get Joe to buy the book.
Joe,
There we
will.
Go
go.
to buy the
Then
book.
it
There we
cuts
go.
into his profits. There you go.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm well, a couple changes with me since last time I was on here. I've been a month at Sony, so I work in the B2B division in sales, and we do displays, projectors, cameras, that kind of thing. And I'm just a young guy in the AV world wearing a Hawaiian shirt today. So and I live out of Chicago too.
Go for it, Murphy. Now tell him what you think about that Hawaiian shirt. Go ahead. Now's the time. Don't hold back on
This
it.
is my favorite Hawaiian shirt. So
I like it. What is that a flower or an animal?
Oh, here it
The
comes.
red. The
Oh,
She
red.
doesn't like
oh,
animals.
it's a flower. Yeah, they're all flowers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because she
like
doesn't
it.
like animals.
Fence. I guess I get to be rude to you.
Yes. I'm sure you will.
See, that was very compassionate. Thank you.
Yes.
But not
Appreciate
bad.
Actually, it looks good on you.
So, thank
Hawaiian
you.
shirts are your thing.
All right. Well, yeah. So welcome back, David. Definitely glad to have you back as well for your third time. Yes.
Thank you.
So we're here this week and for the remainder of June. And I'm not gonna say for the whole month of June because we talked about this. Is that
Promises.
yeah, I know. It's eventually gonna come back around to it at some point. But the month of June is the return of conferences and events on higheredav.com. So all the articles that are there are geared toward that return. We are going to discuss it over the next couple of weeks. So we got manufacturers coming in. We're bringing more AV tweeps in to join in on the conversation. And we're going to kind of just give our input on it a little bit and still have our usual fun. We have the firing range back this week, so we will make sure we get to that. And we're going to do the PM minute as well. So as a nice little segue, Murphy, take it away.
All right, my friends. So this is the AV life, and everybody knows, or anyone who's been here for any amount of time in the AV space knows. AV is A. It's all about the audio. So when we're talking about audio, that makes me hold that in your mind. And then also when it comes to project management, there's like the triple constraint on time, on budget, and to scope, right? This is a triple constraint. Time, on rhythm. Projects have a certain rhythm. In fact, they bring it up whenever you're supposed to start a project, you define the cadence, which is another way of saying the rhythm. You have to keep the rhythm of a project or it will be lost. So as the thing to remember is keep track of time all the time, because time will crush you if you do not stay on top of it. It will come and land on you and you will be pinned. Oh no. But if you can stay on top of the project, it will behave and it will be a dance. And that's how to handle it. That's how you got to do your projects. Keep the rhythm.
I was gonna say, it's funny. Erica said in the chat, "Land Before Time" flashbacks, and also I'm having like, I don't know, was it Gloria Stefan? The feel the beat of the rhythm of the night.
Okay,
like,
okay. There's a lot.
like, it's like the rhythm of the project. Yeah, it's like.
I
So
don't know
yeah.
what Land Before Time has to do with it, but okay.
Oh,
all right.
Erica, I think you need the school
Boy.
Okay, tell
Murphy
me.
here.
Tell me, what did I miss?
Well, you're talking about time, so you think about Land Before Time. What Land Before Time is about? You know, it's the dinosaurs, and it's the all
Oh,
of
I
the
get
thing
it.
coming to
Yes, it
destroy,
will land on
come and
you.
destroy. Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
right.
Littlefoot. Oh.
As a millennial, I appreciate that reference. Thank you.
thank you.
I
I'm
love
glad
that.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
No,
3 stars for life.
Heck yeah.
So yes, if for those of you out there who have not seen The Land Before Time, please go out.
I
and
have seen
it's,
it. I just hadn't thought about it for a while. So
yeah, well, yes, I feel like it's been brought up more recently, and I don't know why. Like, I feel like this is not the first time
Are you
I've heard of
feeling
it.
time ticking? Are you feeling something gonna crush?
Time keeps ticking away.
Yeah. Well,
That's a Steve Miller song.
That's
There
also a
you go.
Madonna song. I mean,
Well, and Linkin Park had a lyric in it as well. Watch the clock by as the pendulum swings. It's like so
many,
yeah.
so many.
That- yeah, I
Hey,
was gonna
maybe
say
there needs
there-
to be like a PM triple constraint playlist.
Oh,
There you go.
No.
I
That,
dig it. I
that,
totally dig
that
it.
comes
need it.
right after the movies, right?
I think we need to start a
Okay,
Spotify
okay.
channel.
All right,
I think
think
we need-
about this. About
Really
the
cool.
time. Time keeps on ticking. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Oh, but yeah, but do you play Steve Miller or do you play Seal?
Both.
Like, we do both.
Yeah, all of them.
Both.
A remix, yeah, as long as they don't
Yeah.
suck. Yeah.
Well, and then that leads me back into that. There's another Space Jam movie coming. So you know,
There is?
speaking of time honored movies.
Yes. Y'all need to save that for the next firing range, though. All the controversy around
Yeah.
that.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I will come on the podcast to talk about that because Chicago, Michael
Same.
Jordan
Okay.
here. I'm not a fan. Not a
Oh.
fan of Space Jam 2. Haven't even
yeah.
seen it. So
I was gonna say, haven't even seen it yet. Don't want to watch it.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Like LeBron's a great guy and all. Like, but I'm
see,
with
it's
you,
attitude.
David.
The only number 2 that matters is Top Gun 2. Okay, let's just
Yeah.
keep our eyes on the prize here.
Murphy,
I'm
you
waiting
see,
for
this
that.
goes back to what you're saying. This is why these people are scoring at the 50th percentile.
You're gonna have to
Okay.
send me that though.
They're
Murphy. I
they're
wanna
not
take it.
open. They're not open to anything anymore. Right? Come on, Murphy. This is your gig.
I'm saying he's trying to make me rude. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I also maybe
I'm
the-
supporting you.
Oh, you're supporting me in your perception that I'm gonna be rude. That's okay. That's nice of you. I appreciate that.
Own it.
Okay, own it.
Own your percentile. I do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, you know what?
Now I'm like
Going
trying to
into-
think of how to be rude on demand. huh?
be rude on demand. Hashtag rude on demand.
So there you go. Now we got a hashtag.
There's our first hashtag.
Murphy
for-
brings it again.
Oh, you know what? You know what? All right. This may be the case. This may be the case that for the sake of a joke, I'll be rude. I'll interrupt. I'll like push away. Wait, I have something funny to say. Okay, that I could do. But
Did you write a book?
why? Yes, I did. In
There you go.
fact,
See?
I will tell you about the
Sure.
third book that I published, which includes an award-winning short story that was I won that for humorous essay. And that is Alaskan Road Rules and Other Stories. And it's pretty funny. So yeah, I'm funny. It was a while ago, but I'm still funny from time to time. You may or may not have noticed. You may or may not have laughed, but I do tell jokes
Yeah,
and
that's right.
witticisms.
They're just maybe not polite
Wah,
jokes.
wah, wah.
They're impolite. Yes.
That's what we all
Do we
need. is
need
those
do we need to put
buzzers.
up our NR rating or what is it?
Yeah,
A rating.
NC
only when
17.
you get
Oh,
mad
wait,
and
oh
start
well, what is
cursing.
it? Explicit
Explicit lyrics is
parental guidance.
not for
required.
kids.
Ooh,
It's
yeah.
not suggested
This
to-
might be lemonade.
expectant moms. Yeah.
Expect it.
No, that's the
Oh,
second
man.
book.
Yeah.
So that's
There you go.
But actually, tying in the audio part, and I can relate that to Top Gun. So I saw Top Gun when it re-released in
Are we getting into
theaters.
the danger zone?
Yes, in IMAX. Oh my Lord, I thought my heart was going to explode in my chest with the way when those jets came over my head. Oh, it's the best audio experience I've ever had.
Really?
You were talking about good audio experiences, though. Segue, sorry for a moment, because A Quiet
go
Place
ahead.
2, A Quiet Place 2 is
Oh,
coming
man.
out tomorrow. So, if you watch the previews, A Quiet Place 2, there's not a lot of sound. And for some reason, I thought it would be a really good idea to pay the extra money to go to a Dolby Theater to watch it. And let me tell you, when the lows are low, the highs are high. Talk about an
Ooh.
experience.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
there are
my
certain.
wife-
Go
Tim.
ahead, James.
No, you go. Tim.
I was gonna say there are certain movies that have to be seen in that experience, but
Agreed.
when they just release anything in like 3D or IMAX, it's kind of like, but yeah, when you're talking about A Quiet Place or Top Gun, like those are the things you need that experience in. But yeah, go ahead, James.
So actually, two things that go on with that. First off, is my wife saw Top Gun for the first time like a month ago, and is in love with it.
What?
What?
Yeah. She
know
was
what?
never a Tom Cruise fan, so she would not watch any of his movies.
She's
And-
missed 25
Just-
years of.
I'll
Yeah.
be right back.
Ah,
But-
I mean,
Uh-oh.
I can agree, not because I hadn't seen it for the first time all the way through, and I did see it in theaters too, in IMAX. So
Oh,
I
so
got
you
my-
saw- okay.
I got my daughter finally. She went to Disneyland and she saw the Star Wars land and she was impressed with it. But I had never gotten her to watch Star Wars with me before. So I finally, this last holiday weekend, got her to watch the whole thing and she dug it. She said, it reminds
Awesome.
me of the Hunger Games. And I said, which one is better? She goes, they're not the same. And, I was surprised because I wasn't sure because maybe it was dated and it did have slow parts because, I don't know, Luke Skywalker at the beginning was kind of a little whiny punk.
African
There
Goose.
you go.
That's
Yes.
nice.
And go
Bringing
with
back that love and feeling. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
and going to
Excellent.
about your audio experience with the Jets. I actually got to experience one in real life. We over by my work, there's the Lang City Airport where the National Guards are stationed at as well. And we're driving by that one day, and all of a sudden I hear this roar, and my car is shaking. I'm stopped at the light there. I'm like, what is that? I had a sunroof, so I open the sunroof. I look up and I see the butt end of a F-15, I want to say is that flies out of there, just going straight up, and all you see is afterburners right above my car. It
That's
was,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, like you feel that.
Wow.
Yeah, my uncle was part of like the Apollo missions and stuff like that, like from the engineering stand. Yeah, so yeah, he's one of those rocket scientists, you know. So so he was in Florida, and then he moved up to Tennessee with his family. And when we went to go visit, he like one of the movies I was allowed to watch was Top Gun. Like, I mean, this was like right after it came out, and he had it on VHS. So I think every day, like for that week, once a day for that week that we were in Tennessee, I watched that movie. Like it,
A good week.
My
yeah, it was
son-in-law,
a great.
my son-in-law's a test pilot out at Edwards Air Force Base, and he sent some movies to us, you know, from his cell phone where they just attach it in the cockpit. And I tell you, some of this stuff, it's like you about get seasick, you know, just watching it. It's like, I can't believe you're doing that. But to be 29 years old and, you know, have those kind of toys to play with.
Oh yeah.
I'll be
Yeah,
interested
yeah.
to see how they do. So, you know, take him or leave him, Tom Cruise is going to do a movie in outer space. And they're going to film it in outer
Mhm.
space.
Mm.
So I'll be really interested to see how they rig that up. And I want to say the last article I read said they were going to go to the International Space Station.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, that will
I
be,
think if
that'll be
anybody can do it,
interesting.
he can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But because I mean, there's no space to make a green room up there.
Look what I was going to say, but look what they've done. He's done with the whole Mission Impossible franchise and all
I
that.
think
mean,
it's a Mission Impossible. I think, don't quote me on it, but I think it's a Mission Impossible
two
movie.
more. There's two more coming. I know that. IMDb
Nice.
has it listed. IMDb has it listed that there's two more coming. So I don't know. Yeah,
Can't be true if they don't
Okay,
put it on the internet.
okay.
If it's on the
Exactly.
internet, it gotta be true. That's
it's gotta be true. Yeah.
Can who's gonna be his crew? They're like gonna like have to send a big van of you know, because like someone's got.
It's fine. Elon Musk and SpaceX have it figured out.
Yep. And he's gonna pay for the whole thing with Dogecoin. That's what's gonna happen.
they're going to arrive in a Tesla.
To the moon, to the
Well,
moon.
that's-
To the moon.
I guess AMC and GameStop will be up there with them too.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. I hope so. I still got my game.
They're probably gonna make a video
Tiny
game out of
game.
it and stamp GameStop's name on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I'm just thinking about who's gonna hold the camera and how they're gonna. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be
AI.
So it's gonna be selfies the
Oh,
whole
that's a
time.
good idea. AI.
selfies.
That'll be interesting.
This would be a good test one for AI to record videos.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
just to correct me, it wasn't an F-15, it was an F-16, the National Guard.
Nice.
Okay.
We kind of
Very cool.
got a little bit off there, Murphy.
Yeah, sorry, Murphy,
Were
yeah.
you
Oh, that was
did
it. That was it.
you? Okay. Sorry about
So
that.
stay catch
We
the
were excited about
catch the
audio.
rhythm. So catch the rhythm.
We totally we went with like, okay, movie playlists, movies to go with the, you know, keep the rhythm and avoid getting time to crush you, having time crush you. These were fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You
it
know,
all-
we
it
have
all works out.
we have a bar in Kansas City called Funky Town, which is like 60s, 70s, 80s music. And now I really want to have an AV Life dance party. Like it's all about the A and playing
Oh.
like Rhythm of the Night and all those songs. Like,
There you go.
We
I
need to
like it.
Go there, Erica.
And you know what?
yeah.
Now we can have,
Oh,
and actually, as a wonderful segue, we are now in the point where we could have live events like that. So,
oh yeah.
so are we, and I know I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again, like, because I know the answers from, 6 months ago when I asked, are we ready for this now?
So ready.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
ready?
That's a
I'm
loaded.
sorry,
That's a
what
loaded
about-
question. That's a loaded question.
Okay. So I mean, that's why I'm leaving it open. It's because I will say that, yeah, part of me is like, yes, I'm ready for this. Like, yeah, part of me, like, and especially, so I got to see a bunch of my family on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, and it was great. I haven't seen them since Christmas of 2019. So, like, because we were all supposed to hang out for Easter, and that's when everything went bad in 2020. So
Hmm.
now it is a year and a half later, and I finally get to hang out with everybody. And now we are all gung ho to make plans for the next 2 years, like ready to like get everything in order and make sure this never happens again. Well, hopefully never happens again, but we're
Well-
planning for the we are planning for the future, which
Well, Tim, it
Mhm.
appears that you still like each other.
yes,
That's wonderful.
Yes, we do.
That's wonderful.
that's the good thing
wonderful.
about family.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes.
sometimes, yeah.
Well, let me tell you what
But-
my experience was last week going through, I think it was 5 total airports.
Oh.
Every seat on every flight I took was sold out. They were trying to get people to take credits to get off the plane because they had
Trying to rob
oversold
people.
everyone. There are no seats available in the airports because it's so jam-packed. Most restaurants are back open, not all. The spa that was closed forever, like in O'Hare, is back open. Rental cars, when I got to my rental car, there was like, oh yeah,
Oh.
there's 2 left. Here you go.
I've heard that's a mess. Yeah.
So anything and everything that has to do with travel via airport or rental car situation was absolutely insane. Shuttle.
Yeah, I heard that the rental cars places knew when that they weren't going to have any business because no one could travel anywhere, so they just sold their cars.
Well,
And so they
some
didn't
of
have
them,
any-
one of them went bankrupt and went through that process and lost a bunch of cars. But you're right, they because the banks are still holding the paper on a lot of those
Right.
cars, and so they said that was going to ripple for a long time. Then you
Mhm.
had I don't know, I can't remember where I saw it. It was one of the financial magazines or sites that they said that like Uber and Lyft were going through
Oh,
some
right.
real contortions there because that there was differences between the drivers and management, and they're trying
all
to
these
get back into
laws.
that rhythm of picking people up. And then they said that the airlines were ditching some of the non-profitable or the less profitable routes to get to some of these other destinations, and that there were going to be fewer flights sometimes where you wanted to go than to the paying ones. And that I think that goes along probably with what Renee was saying. You're going to be jammed in there like sardines.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm
Well,
going
and
to be
then
going
it-
to Colorado at the end of the month, so I'm excited to leave and do some
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah,
Very nice.
it's been really interesting. So we I mean, if we're talking about the travel thing, so my wife and I went to Mexico for our honeymoon at the end of April, and Kansas City very rarely has direct flights as it is. Hopefully that will change after they finish the remodel or the new terminal. Sorry. But it was interesting because on our flight down to Mexico, so we're in Kansas City, we had to fly to Chicago for a layover to then fly straight down to Mexico. And then on our way home, we had to fly from Cancun to Baltimore and then back over to Kansas City. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then I was looking at flights up to Chicago just to go visit. Because I mean, yes, I know I could totally get in the car and drive because it's like maybe 8 hours or whatever. But I was looking at flights,
A long
and
time.
to get from Kansas City to Chicago, you have layovers in Dallas, Nashville, Denver, and Baltimore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does this make any sense? But it's all about the money. Like
Yep.
these airlines have to figure out how to get that money back because they
Well,
lost so much.
It's not about
So-
you. It's not about
and it
you,
wasn't
Eric.
even,
Not
and
at all.
this was even before the pandemic as well, because I
Mhm.
flew American Airlines to try to get to Dallas, and I went to Chicago and then down to Dallas on American because
So-
there was no direct flights from Newark to down there, which I was like, what? Like, why is that not like a thing? Like, and it
Well,
wasn't, there was no,
yeah.
no
I mean,
JFK.
at least from Newark to Chicago makes a little bit more logistical sense because at least you're still traveling in the direction you need to be going.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
I
would
get
feel
what you're
like-
saying.
Yeah,
For this, I just flew to Denver to go pick up my nieces. My layover was in Chicago. Kansas City, Chicago, Denver. I flew right back over the top of Kansas City to get to Denver. It was insane.
It's crazy.
I was listening to
It's-
Stuart Varney this morning. He was interviewing some guy, and they said that if you have that, a lot of people, I know I do, have a lot of Sky Miles stacked up there from frequent flyer miles. They said anytime your ticket is more expensive than $400, use your Sky Miles. It's cheaper that way.
Hmm.
So
Well,
It-
I used miles for one part of the journey and money for the other half.
So to give you some insight, because I actually, where I live, the Lang City Airport is actually the hub for the FAA. So all your security stuff and anything you deal with in any airport is developed at the FAA Tech Center right by the Lang City Airport. And
Okay.
actually, a lot of our graduates from our university go work for the FAA. But what is it's actually how they have to communicate with planes. So the planes, when they're doing their routes, they got to talk to equipment on the ground. So there has to be huge distances between the planes. So that's why they have these crazy routes to leave that distance in the air so the planes don't crash into each other. Now they are working on a next gen, and it's been a long time. I think they started working on it in 2007, and I just looked it up, and it's supposed to be done by 2025. But the next gen, it's going to allow planes to actually communicate and let each other know where they are, like plane to plane, instead of
Hmm.
going to the ground equipment.
So
What
like
could
the
possibly
airline
go
version
wrong
of
there?
a CB radio that truck drivers use.
Basically, and it allows them to line up planes almost nose to butt, and be able to bring them in.
That's
Yeah.
scary.
I
That's
drive
the what could possibly
435
go
every
wrong.
day, and with that traffic, I don't even want to imagine what
Mm-mm.
knows. No, that kind of no.
It's too close.
As I say, the way folks drive here in New Jersey, I don't want
Mm-mm.
airlines doing that
Well,
too. Like that.
my luck,
And
I
also,
get a
how much is
pilot
that
with
going to affect our
Tourette's.
insurance policies? Like our insurance policies, like that's gonna like travel insurance. You can kind of afford it right now. You sure as hell ain't will be able to afford it after that.
Yeah.
So
no.
Tim, I just heard very interesting. New Jersey drivers got ranked the 5th best state for drivers in the nation.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
contrary.
that's
Who do
very
they talk
surprising.
to
That
for
is
that?
contrary to
don't
my
know.
Hey,
experience.
I don't know whether it was on the
Were they
radio.
were
as
they
I was
all
driving
down by
home.
you? Because that's not up by me.
Trust me, New Jersey drivers are bad. But again, remember, we got to deal with Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New York drivers.
Oh, that's true.
So a lot
Well,
of them
you
are
have
bad
to deal with
driving.
Delaware. They don't usually make it up my way. So, but I got
we deal with
Pennsylvania and New York.
everybody.
Yeah.
Darn shoebies. But yeah, I heard it. I was shocked. I know New Jersey drivers always get a bad rap, but on the radio they said New Jersey were ranked 5th in the nation for best drivers.
I guess we have to. That's because we have to be. But then why is our car insurance so high?
Because we're in New Jersey, everything's high.
Oh, that's
It
true.
would be interesting to see what kind of disruption, and I mean, it was probably a stunning disruption in just the logistics in air travel. I mean, it's just not the airplane, but it's, the baggage handlers, it's the routing, it's the food services, it's Uber, it's Lyft, that whole dynamic of travel that we took so much for granted that
We had such a good
Pre-COVID.
system, and then it broke.
Yeah.
exactly.
that's what
I
I-
could say
that-
you got up. I knew where I had to go in every airport to get Lyft or Uber. I was at the airport in 20 minutes tops. It was you told the guy I wanted to be picked back up or something.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird how we do it now.
Well, and that's what
Maybe-
that's why I put in the chat is that, where we as a people are ready for travel, but the infrastructure is not.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are not, like, the airlines aren't ready for us. Uber's not ready for us.
What does that tell
Uh,
you about convention centers?
They're not
And
gonna be ready
that's-
for us either.
Yeah.
Because think of the logistics of we took things for granted in Vegas, because you not only just have the convention center, but you've got food services, you've got hotels, you've got
Yes.
transportation
Staffing-
systems, all
Staffing
this
is a
sort of stuff.
huge problem. Staffing is a huge problem. It
Mhm.
seems like everybody is hiring and they can't get people.
Mhm.
Because
Well, the
they're not
people they-
offering.
Change.
Yeah.
If that
Well,
will
all the
change-
Go
people
ahead,
they
David.
laid off got new jobs probably, right? Like,
Controversial
Or-
opinion.
Yeah.
If you ask the state of Missouri, it's because you make more money on unemployment, so you might as well just stay on unemployment.
Yeah,
That ends
you
June
have to
12th.
say it in
Right.
Jersey the same way our governor is blaming
Chicago, yeah.
businesses.
But I'm
No.
glad you bring up the staffing and the infrastructure thing, because I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna dive into the deep end here.
Go ahead.
And get a little
boy.
controversial. So, the topic is, are we ready for live events? And, I beyond 100% believe that we as humans are ready for live events. We're ready for that interaction. We're ready for that experience. Like, I know I sure as hell miss being at a concert like no other. But the issue that I think that we still need to be cognizant of is the staffing and infrastructure, because I actually just pulled up the stats in Missouri alone, because I live in Missouri. We still have not even reached 50% vaccination in the state of Missouri. Whether you believe it or not, that's entirely up to you. But the thing is that especially in our rural areas where, we've already been struggling with healthcare, having people on staff, having the resources available to help people who do get infected, I think we need to tread the line lightly, because it's not a matter, this is my opinion. People can come at me for it. I don't think we so much need to worry about, does somebody have it? Does somebody not have it? Just follow the rules or whatnot, if you will. But what happens when those hospitals start to get overwhelmed again? And, I know from personal experience across multiple counties in the state where they've run out of rooms, they've run out of supplies, they've run out of staff. Yeah, we want to go, we want to do all of these things, but are we ready? Like, is it time? Can people, quote unquote, follow the rules to make sure that we're still being a little bit cautious, we're still being a little bit safe, so we don't, it goes beyond the death rate. And then, how my wife works in healthcare, it goes beyond that. Like, what about everybody else? Like, I don't want to see my wife coming home every day from work so upset and frustrated because she can't do her job, and because the hits just keep coming. So
Well, I went to an event, a theater event on Friday, and that was super fun. It was outside. We had bistro tables and they set up a stage and they sang for us. It was great. They just had a bunch of really good singers get up and do their singing. And we were like, "Are you vaccinated?" And we hugged each other. So all these people that I know, but it was small. It was not a human, several 100,000 people in one big stadium. It was maybe
it wasn't a mosh pit.
30.
It wasn't people like James
Yeah.
standing in line at an amusement park to get on a ride, like.
right.
And it was
See,
outside
that's-
too.
I was
right?
just
Yeah.
gonna say that, Erica, if you go going off what I mentioned earlier and going off of what you were just saying, is as a society, we as people want to get out, yes, and we're ready to get out, but we're also a society that is built on breaking rules. We broke away from England because we didn't like their rules.
Rebel without a cause.
Going all
Yes.
the way back.
Yes. So, and as we saw with my experience at the amusement park, where people were not even honoring normal social distancing and personal space
Pre-COVID.
pre-COVID, yeah. And but there are your folks who are following the rules. I mean, with that said, there was others who, kept their distance. So we're going to be a mixed society, but unfortunately, it's always the rule breakers who ruin it for everybody.
I guess I'm going to have to be a rule breaker and leave a little bit early and ruin everything. So sorry, guys.
Oh,
I gotta
there you
go.
go,
Oh,
Murphy. You're
Murphy.
ruining it.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right,
Bye,
see you next
Murphy.
week.
Murphy.
Careful.
Bye, Murphy. So
You know,
yeah, I mean,
there was an
it's-
article that somebody, I can't remember who it was, and it was kind of a political article, but it went on to say basically the gist of it was, if I see you in a populated area and you don't have a mask on, I'm going to judge you. I mean, came right out and said it. Not knowing whether somebody's been vaccinated or not. I just wonder how that dynamic is going to play into, how we, for lack of a better term, re-enter society there, let alone what we're talking about, specifically trade shows and things like that. I want to be at a trade show. I want to be at a big trade show. I want to be at a trade show with a bazillion people again. It's a question of how, there's something that has gone on at the cerebral level during COVID now, that and this person that wrote this article, and I forget who it was, I mean, they were eviscerated on Twitter about making that comment. However, she did not think twice about saying, I don't care, I am going to judge you if you don't have a mask on, even though the mandate's gone.
Mhm.
So it's going to be interesting
there
how
is
that
there
plays
is a
into it.
level of like, so on Friday last week, the governor lifted some more guidelines, and the mask mandate is basically lifted at this point too. If
I
you're
have a theory
vaccinated,
about that, but
yeah, well,
I have
it
I have
just-
thoughts on that, but
yeah.
just in time for Memorial Day weekend.
Well-
Which is like the biggest weekend here in New Jersey. But
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
besides
then-
that, oh, sorry.
then this week on Friday, so tomorrow, all the inside limitations are off for larger venues, which is funny because the Devils are done. Like all the other indoor sports teams are done at this point. Like all the college games are done and everything like that. So anything indoor is now a concert, which, don't get me wrong, that's great. I'm with you, Erica. I'm ready for a live concert. But like these changes were like, okay, I guess it's okay to make these changes now because it's very low impact, but still. But all right, so James, what's your theory?
So, because it was a red flag for me, because he was a big one for, not getting rid of some things and, slowly taking things back. And he even said when he started to allow like bigger gatherings and all this other vaccinations and all this stuff, he said masks were going away no time soon. He's like, he was steady fast on keeping masks. And then even after he lifted almost a lot of the other ones, he still said, you're still going to need to wear a mask. A week later, he announced, I'm doing away with masks on this date. And on that date,
Even Fauci can't keep his story straight.
yeah.
Right.
that's my entire thing. James, will let you finish.
Hold
Sorry.
on, it started. This is where I forgot really like, the date that masks were not allowed, you didn't have to wear a mask, his ads for re-election started airing.
Oh, see, and I didn't see those.
Yeah.
And
Same
So-
day that you didn't have to wear a mask, I started hearing ads for his re-election.
speaking of Fauci, I'm ready to. I need a good. Today should have been it because it was rainy as hell here in New Jersey. I want to read all those emails and everything that the Washington Post found.
Let me tell you
want-
something. It will make your blood boil.
It will. If it doesn't.
I have read them.
I
Oh,
haven't
you
read
read-
it yet. But here's my thing
Go ahead.
to expand on James's thing, and opinions aside, 100% opinions aside, just something to think about. We started out with wear masks to protect yourself. Then it turned into wear masks to protect other people. Then the vaccine started rolling out. Well, just because you get the vaccine, you you're saving yourself. You can still be a carrier. People think, oh, I'm going to get the vaccine and everything's fine. Well, no, you can still carry. But now all of a sudden, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask anymore.
Right.
So was the mask wearing for me? Was it for other people? Was it
Yeah.
like what?
Or
what
was it BS to begin with?
Right. I wouldn't necessarily say completely BS.
Yeah.
Because there's still like
Look,
there's
if
still-
you
there-
can
there's still certain
smell,
situations.
if you
This
can
one
smell
is-
dog crap through a mask, you're going to tell me that a virus can't get through that mask?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. But the point is like at what point, like who is the mask wearing actually for? And I think one of the biggest issues is how organizations are going to handle reopening. Avixa just made that announcement about all of the stuff that they're going to do at Infocom. They're going to have all this cleaning and all this other stuff or whatever. And a lot of companies are starting to move into the next phase of reopening. And it's like, well, if you're not vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, but we're not going to make you show us that you got vaccinated. So it's like, one, how do you uphold the rules? Two, how do you know who's lying, who's not? And it's like, who is this actually for to begin with? How the hell do we actually do this the right way? Like,
Right.
this is why we can't have
And
nice.
this is
It is
going
right.
back to the very
Well,
beginning.
but
There's no central guidance on this. Again,
But
now
Brooke,
I know we
okay,
all
but
ragged.
what happens next year? Is it going to be the little boy that cried wolf? That childhood story? Because how many times were we fed a line of crap this last year and a half? Now they're going to come back to us in the fall when normal flu season starts and that sort of stuff. Are we going to be buying the same load of crap this time? I think they've got some real challenges ahead, and that's going to affect our ability to go to shows and to get back out there. I just think they have created a monster. They had no
Mhm.
idea what they were
Yeah.
going to do.
And that-
Charlie
that's-
going to be able to go to.
Like James was saying, okay, who's going to follow the rules? Are they really going to do this? But let's say, why has that rule been set? What are, like, the mask rule? Why is that? Like Erica said, was it for you? Was it for us? The vaccine? Is it for you? Is it for others? If there's a rule that you can give me a why, like a red light, you stop at a red light so the other people can go and you don't crash. There's a rule and a law because that makes sense. If you're giving me something and then tell me a story later and then tell me a story later and it all contradicts itself, how do you make a rule? Now,
Right.
it's gonna be left
Yeah.
up to the individual.
Hold on. I'm sorry,
Right.
Renee. I love you. I told you I was sassy. I'm going to jump in here and just make a comment. All right. So there, as much as we all hate it, there are different levels of rules. So just for example's sake, there was a law and a rule that I could not marry my wife. I was legally not allowed to marry my wife. And the reasoning was because my Bible said so. Where if you look at, you have to wear a mask. Like if I tell you the rule is you have to wear a mask, it's for public safety. Like
Based
when
on what?
when
Which
I
fallacy?
marry a woman, like what harm am I doing to public safety? I mean, unless you really, really freaking hate gay people and you want to kill yourself about it, then I mean, nothing. Please cut that. I probably shouldn't have said that. But it was
Where is it
like,
said
That's
that
the
we're
tweet. There we go.
That's the
Thank you.
truth.
Storm.
but you get what I'm saying? Like I
No,
totally
it's
understand, like,
yeah,
there-
it's
there-
extreme,
there,
but
there
yeah,
are rules. There
yeah.
are rules, and it's like, I had a conversation with a couple of coworkers recently, and it came down to, at what point do you draw the line between, I am concerned about my household and the people that are in my family and in my house, and when things are really bad, then yeah, I worry about the outside because I could bring that home. But at what point do we draw that line? Like if there's one person in a village of 500, that one person you might get something from, then do you still continue with these broad rules that
Well-
everybody has to do this thing to accommodate that one person?
Okay, I can see that, but we had at least one know-it-all that was making up these rules. And because of that idiot, I've lost a job. I've got a ton of friends that lost their jobs because of this, because we couldn't travel. Because everybody was having to still wear masks. All right. The fact of the matter is, people lost their livelihoods because of this bull crap. I don't forgive that type of stuff. And
Right.
if they expect me and others that lost jobs to buy into this next round, they've got a lot of convincing to do, because this affects people's lives.
Yeah. And
So-
I agree. I agree. I think that's something
can I
that I
ask
think that's
though,
part of the
like-
reason. I think that's
Go
part of the
ahead.
reason that these mandates have starting to loosen up a little bit more too, is I think more and more they're realizing
But it's too
that
late. It's
we-
too
well,
late for
yeah,
some
it's too
people.
late. But
Right.
that's it is. I know. And it's making up for the lost time that in some states it should have been loosened up already. It's here in New Jersey, I mean, we're the most densely populated state in the union. So it's hard to compare New Jersey to, Missouri or to Illinois. Like
Right.
it's like
Mhm.
there's,
Right.
there's
But I
Yeah.
think anything, aren't you putting yourself, if you put yourself outside of your home, you're putting your risks out there on your own. If I get into a car or a plane or a train, I'm taking the risks that there's going to be a car accident or a plane crash or something. If I'm putting myself out and I'm going to Infocom or I'm going to go to a concert venue, I'm going to do what I can with my part. We all know the people around us are not going to be doing their part or whatever, maybe. I'm taking that risk because I want to see that concert, or I'm taking that risk because I want to get on the plane and go see my family. At some point, we have to put the responsibility back on ourselves. I mean, if you don't want to go to the grocery store or get food outside, it can all come to your front door. You don't have to put yourself out there and do that, right? We've learned that. But
So
at some point, we have to take the responsibility for what that means.
so
and
there.
James, just after you're done, I don't. David's been very
Yeah, let's
quietly
get
sitting
David
over
in.
there.
Well,
Let's get David in on this.
I've been listening, but you know what?
Yeah,
I've been
I see you
really-
taking
yeah.
it all in. That's why,
Yeah.
but, I don't want you to feel like you're squashed or
I-
anything back
No,
there.
you're
so-
good. On whatever personality test Murphy took, if I took that, I would get like 98 percentile on listening. I don't know what it is, but I've been thinking about it, and like this is a little off topic, but like I'm just thinking like logistically, right? Like, because what, like you guys have said, they've done this seismic change where they've had all these restrictions and limited amount of people. So they've like shows and public venues have had to change how many people they have and the protocols. And now they're just saying, oh, we're not doing that. We're doing it the old way. So then they have to change all the protocols again. And how much does that logistically? You got to hire all those people back you let go who moved on with their lives and got new jobs.
Mhm.
Where are those jobs going to come from if those people are already working? Some of them are, some of them aren't. And then like the other thing too is like, like waivers. They're talking about like when you go into a concert, you might need like a verification that you've been vaccinated. Like, how do you police that at a trade show? You know what I mean?
That's
It's just
the
a lot
operative
of
word, police. And
Yeah.
you know who did that elsewhere in history? That's
Well,
that ought to shake all of us up, but we don't think
Yeah.
about that too.
I didn't mean to start any controversy with that. What I'm
No,
saying
no,
is like
no,
no,
we're-
but
we're-
that's
we've
you're
already
exactly
done-
right.
Yeah.
It's
We-
coming.
We're
It is
going down that
gone
rabbit
now.
hole already. Let's
yeah,
just,
and that takes a lot of manpower logistically, and like it just takes more energy to like when you design like a show or an event or something like that. That's just more resources, money, time that you have to waste to make that
Well,
happen.
didn't it occur
Yeah.
up there? I think, was it the Yankees?
Yes.
I hope it. I'm not talking about a team that I
No, it was the
mistaken.
Yankees.
That
Uh,
if you were going to go to a Yankees game or a ball game, let's just say a baseball game, professional ball game,
Mhm.
you showed a card, and if you have your vaccination, you get to sit over here with other people.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
If you aren't one of the chosen ones, you have to sit over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
Yeah,
really
it's
good
telling you-
argument in
I'm
equity,
telling
though.
you, people, that is dangerous.
It
Right.
is
Or
dangerous.
the
They
other
are
part of it-
walking. You know what? And
Yeah.
the Yankees, I feel like, and maybe it's because I'm a Yankee fan and I'm, I'm born and raised, like, so I'm not like a bandwagon Yankee fan, but I feel like of all the sports teams that are out there, the Yankees can get away with doing that.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
But my
I
point
hate
is
to
this:
say it,
the,
but
it
that's-
goes
that's-
to everything, though. We're talking about this being the washed versus the unwashed.
And Spence, you know what I don't like about that? Not just the ethical implication of that, but like if they go, well, you're vaccinated, so we'll give you a discount and you buy your ticket for $25 and you're not vaccinated, but you buy your ticket for $100 as a penalty. Like people shouldn't be penalized for that. Some people don't have
Equity.
access to the vaccine, so it's not
Yeah.
a level playing field like that. So I agree with you on that.
Well, and I know they're doing everything in their power to make it available to everybody, but also it's becoming a choice thing at this point, which
Well, then they're
everyone should
talking
have.
about boosters. How often do we have to renew our get back into life free card?
Yeah.
If
6
we have to
months.
have a booster
6
every
months
6
is the
months or
going
something
is the
like
number
that.
We
right
already
now.
talked about
Yeah.
it.
You
Yeah.
know,
we already talked about it.
And what that's going to be is, we're going to have a database because carrying these cards is going to be just too much.
They
Oh,
already
yeah.
have a database.
Oh,
They already have a
absolutely,
database.
absolutely,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
I brought this up in the one episode where we talked about like the IBM and the Holocaust and the punch card of how they tracked, and that's how the Holocaust got as detailed as it did was because of technology of like the punch card machine. But like Spencer was saying, is that's all it started with was they started throwing information out there saying you have to prove that you were not, or I think what at first was you prove that you were German descent. And then they started adding more and more and more to it. And that's my fear, like Spencer was saying, with this whole COVID passport. Okay, you throw the COVID on there. Maybe most of the society would accept that. Then what they come out next year and say, well, you know what? Throw the flu on there too.
That's right.
And you know what? The measles, and let's throw this one on there. Let's throw that one on there. And soon we're in a police state.
Well, because where does it end? Then does your vaccine card, because I know people now are saying, we're not going back and getting the boosters. We're done. Well,
Mhm.
what good does that do in a year? I mean, does your vaccine card then not work for the next event because now your booster didn't happen? But I mean,
You're
I
going to
think-
have a sticker like your car, and you'll stick your sticker on your rear end while you walk
I
around
guess
there,
so.
so that
but I
everybody
think
knows.
it's all gonna boil down to, it's gonna be up to the individual venue, right? I mean, Rutgers, wasn't they the first one to say that students and faculty have to be vaccinated? to come
Right, and
back?
we're some of the students are protesting and doing their part on that, and but
Slowly,
now,
more and more are doing that, more and
Right.
more are saying that.
yeah,
So this
Um,
might be unpopular opinion, but like if we take the COVID specifics out of it, take the vaccination part out of it, like Spence, like you said, like there's what's going to happen the next round, right? Like this has happened before. I mean, obviously we're on COVID-19 because there's been 18 other versions. We had the Ebola thing. So if we're looking at live events and all of that other stuff, it's refocusing the conversation to what can those companies, those venues do to ensure, yeah, it's my cat. She doesn't like when I talk to other people. What can those spaces do to ensure that they're maintaining safe spaces and practical spaces? Like, how will this affect fire codes? If you look at especially live event venues, are we going to have to worry about the fire codes getting adjusted? Where you have
Okay,
X people? Like how far down the rabbit hole do you go?
A COVID exit
I'll-
and a non-COVID.
I'll tell you how
exit.
far.
Right.
You have to go down.
God.
Practically, what can venues do right now?
You have to
So
go
they don't
all
have
the
to
way
close
down
again.
the rabbit hole. The reason being is this. Let's just take a restaurant, for instance. Okay. This happened in every one of our towns. I'll guarantee you this. I just know this because I have some friends that own a restaurant. That restaurant on the wall says they have an occupancy of 200 people. Okay. COVID comes along. They were allowed 25%. Okay. Now, pre-COVID, they knew that as a restaurant to be successful. Now, remember, they're paying a cook staff, they're paying a wait staff, they're paying about $10,000-$15,000 a month for a lease. Okay. So they know that they have to turn all 200 of those people over 3 or 4, 5, 6 times a day before
Insane.
they take home bread and butter. Okay.
Right.
That's a restaurant. Airplanes are no different. They have to put butts in seats because fuel, it doesn't matter whether you got one person on that plane or you got it filled full. You still have your fixed cost involved
Mhm.
there. How about a concert hall? Okay. Or a stadium, a basketball arena. I was working basketball at the Coliseum. It seats 14,000. All right. The last game of the year, we allowed 2,000 in. Before that, it started off with 100 people, 14,000 seat arena, 100 people. Okay. The football stadium, the first 3 or 4 games, when I worked the games there this year, nobody in the stands. Okay. We were piping in crowd noise. All right. Now, my point is, it was on television. We still had to have a full crew. It doesn't mean that we cut back to 3 people to create something for ESPN
Mhm.
or Fox Sports 1. We still had to have the same crew. Those are fixed costs. Same way with these venues for concerts, for theater.
Cool.
You're going to, if you don't have rear ends in those seats, how are those people going to make any money?
Well,
Well,
that's
and
why I
that's
think
my,
we
and
look
that's
at-
my, that's my question. That's my question. You know, you have these fixed costs, you know how many people you need to have in there. But
And they're not letting
if
you
you,
get
if
enough.
you F up, this is my term, the COVID police are going to say, oh, we traced this breakout to your venue.
Yeah.
What are these venues and these companies doing? How can they?
What do you think
See-
that's going to
Well,
cost them?
the insurance policies for these companies is going to go through
There
the
you go.
roof. It's
But
it's
what's
their
it going to cost
liability
just to
insurance.
do what Eric is wanting to see done? They're going to have to. Are you going to have one of these super duper quick tests that, like a TB test, you go through the door and they
Mhm.
stick there, and okay, if as long as you don't pop a bullseye on your arm, you get to go hear this person yodel.
No, Rutgers is doing the blow test, remember?
We got the
Yeah.
blow. Yeah, we got the blow test coming. So,
Mhm.
which that's supposed to be for that sort of instance. So,
To
Are there
answer,
any false positives on that?
oh well, we got it with the spit test. They're
Never,
already on.
never. There's no
No.
such thing as a
No.
government subsidy
yeah,
for
and
the
that's the
number
thing.
you rack up.
If I go to a concert as I believe to be a healthy individual who has not been impacted,
What
and I
Renee said.
blow, if I blow and I test positive for some reason, but then I get tested the next day and it turns out it was a false positive, do I get my money back for the concert?
Mhm.
Well,
Right,
and that's
what-
the tricky
where
thing
is
about
it from
COVID
there?
too, though. COVID too is that, like I said, just because you're vaccinated, you know, we're vaccinated, we're healthy people, we're still carriers. Like, where do you draw the line? Where do
We-
you draw the line?
Well, we had a case just exactly like that, Tim. We had a guy, and it happened not once, but twice during basketball season. All right. He is a producer, big time
Mhm.
position. Okay. Tested positive. He and his 3 guys up in the crow's nest had to leave. False positive.
Tim had that at work.
Twice.
didn't he?
Twice.
Yeah, and I had to have mine. My boss tested positive during our weekly testing, and it turned out it was a
But
false
this goes
positive.
back to what Renee was saying, and that
Right.
is when we step outside, we assume a certain amount of responsibility, and we take on risk for ourselves. But then that's not what the attorneys are going to tell you. All the attorneys are going to tell you is, look, we don't care what's right or wrong. We just got to figure out what we can tell those 12 knuckleheads sitting in that box over here that are going to decide who gets apportioned this
Right.
part of the blame.
I
So-
have to
And I
take it
don't
a
want to,
step
and I
further.
don't want to complain. I don't want to compare because I know the argument's already been made. But at what point does COVID get to be flu level, where it is just a flu, and if you go out to a concert, you're not wearing a mask, and you get sick?
Does the flu
like, oh,
ever
it
kill
sucks.
anybody with comorbidities? Of course it does.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
but
that's gonna take
yeah.
that's gonna take years. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime you have a new disease pop up and you don't know anything about it, people are gonna freak out. Your level of freak out, obviously, as we've experienced, is going to vary. But until there's been enough time and effort put into researching it, like, these are the long-term side. We're not going to go know the long-term side effects of the disease or the vaccine for years. So for COVID to get flu level, it's gonna take some time.
David, I was
So-
going to ask you, since you're probably one of the latest to go out and visit customers, like what we do on a daily basis. Did you have to do anything special when you went on your last trip last week?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
When you went to visit customers, did they require anything of you? What was it like when you did it? Because
so
when I went a few weeks ago, I had to meet everybody in restaurants.
well, that's what I did. I met in restaurants with people. So I haven't been into anyone's offices yet,
Okay.
but
I wondered.
we just recently, well, I don't know. I guess I could talk about this. Who knows? But we just recently waived our policy, because our policy was to get information from the customer or the reseller we were going to go see, and be like, what's your COVID protocol? What are your rules? How are you upholding the state laws? It was just, judge and jury every time you went out, and they just waived it last week. So
Okay.
now, when you go out, you don't have to do that, but they do ask that you let your manager know where you're at. So then if something does happen, they can know you were accounted for. So they're
Okay.
still checking in on you. Customers, I mean, a lot of it depends on where your customers are, right? So I cover Indiana, Michigan, Ohio. Indiana, they've been kind of over the mask mandate thing for a while. They've been kind of running on their own thing, and it's been status quo for months for them,
Mhm.
and nothing's really changed in the last couple months. But we're in Chicago, where I'm at, or I'm right outside of the city, but still, in 2 weeks they're gonna open up all the indoor capacity, but it's been at 50%. So I was out last week with friends, and everybody had to sit at tables. They did have a couple people at the bar, but you had to be spread out. And then they were
It would
counting
seem
how many
to,
people were coming in.
but
Yeah,
wouldn't it
which is
make sense?
counterintuitive, right?
I
How
gotta
do you
say,
track
if you
it?
go I think it would be safer for you to talk to somebody. If I had an office, I'd rather meet you in my office and take my chances with you than
Yeah.
at a bar.
Yeah, because your office, you could have someone clean, you could sanitize, you can get it all ready before and after a
Not only that,
customer
a
leaves.
bar's got 15,000 people coming in and out of that place all the time. How do you track any of that?
Let
Yeah.
alone if someone cleans your glass right before they give it to you,
Yeah.
and you get those germs. So
Mhm.
I just wondered if it was any different, because it was like that when I went to Chicago. I only met people at restaurants, but I'm working on trips for July, and I think I made 5 calls a day, and only one told me they wouldn't see me.
yeah, it
not taking
really
it
depends on the state.
all.
Every state
Yeah.
is so different on how
That's
they do it.
Well, it's not even the state. It's
Yeah.
not even the state. It's also the individual organizations.
And that's true
I'm not
too,
gonna. I'm not gonna throw anything out there, but we've been discussing that in the chat. But yeah, that's.
And
Well, I was in
that-
Gold Shores, Alabama this weekend, and you couldn't go anywhere for lunch without at least a 2-hour wait, 3-hour wait for dinners. And on the radio, I heard them announce a concert, and I think it was country. It was like Luke Combs or something. And he's there for July 3rd and 4th, and they're announcing it. By the time we left, the announcement was, due to popular demand, we have added a 3rd show on the 2nd. So now it's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And I'm just laughing, going, yeah, because people are dying to get out. I think.
Yeah.
Pent up demand. And it's,
And it's
I
gonna
think
be-
it's pent
it's-
up for shows as well.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be those fixed costs though. Are you going to be able to staff them appropriately?
Exactly.
Like, are they gonna have to stop? Like, is basically the federal government gonna say, yeah, we said we're gonna continue this $300 per week stimulus until I don't know where we're at with that, September or whatever. Is it gonna have to be? It's like, sorry, we're stopping in June. Like, I mean, I know we're in June, but like, you know, I guess it's gonna have to be shortened because that I feel it's part of it.
It's a part of it. It's a big part
It's
of
a
it.
part of it. It's not the whole. I know it's not the whole thing because I was having a conversation with somebody about that, and I know it's not the whole problem, but it's part of the problem. Because if some organizations paid $15 an hour as a minimum wage, then yeah, then some people probably would come back to regular paying jobs. But you know, $300 a week, and $300 a week goes a lot further in some states than here in New Jersey.
Right.
So, you know, it's
So I think there's a lot of variables that are playing into that. I think this time, I'm taking this on a positive side here, is really showed society, like people, what they value most. I mean, you see Joe post all the time, and myself. Joe and I are both like workaholics. I mean, we're working 24/7 on 10 million projects. But as society, I think people are learning that, you know, they don't want to be in an office 8 to 5 every day, missing their family. I was just listening to the one episode of the Super AV Super Friends, and the one guy, I forget his name, I do apologize, but said that he had a coworker leave the university to go work on his farm. Like and now he's working also as like a contractor here and there when they can, but like he chose to leave and we all know higher education has a steady job. You're most likely not going anywhere higher ed. You have good benefits. Like there's a lot to do that, but he preferred to go work on his farm for that lifestyle. And I think that's driving people. Like even these, you know, entry level jobs like fast food joints, people don't want to spend 40 hours a week slinging burgers. They want to be out enjoying life. And I think that's really going to drive the employee market.
Yeah.
Why all businesses are still saying, hey, you got to be in these walls from 8 to 5.
Well, but those people that would want to go enjoy life with those entry level jobs, to enjoy life, it still requires money. You have to make money. You know, the first boss I ever had a saying that I never forgot, and that was, you know, what is it? The things I like to do, I do for free. I guess it's the things I hate doing is what they pay me for. And, you know, that kind of puts it in perspective in a lot of ways. And you know, a lot of people, you know, if it's easier to stay at home and make the money, I guess that's one thing, but
I think
that
people are
can't last
finding
forever.
I mean, look at all these YouTubers that are popping up, and people are making a living off of doing YouTube, taking family vacations and posting it on YouTube and making a good amount of money on it.
Which is super beneficial if you're trying to plan a honeymoon. Just saying.
Like, there's tons of ways to make money that breaks the mold that society was built around of working 8 to 5 in brick walls. So I really think that's a driving factor, plus the whole everything else going. But I think really, like, the one thing I was getting at is our government, I think, has really shown where they are lacking. They have no plan. There's been zero plans for anything. And the latest why I missed that one episode of the recording was when the CDC came out and go, oh, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear masks. and they dropped like that bomb and walked away. There was no guidelines of what businesses should do. They're like, bomb drop, walked away, deal with it. I felt it was a win that they needed. They had this black eye due to the cyber attacks, which are still going on. And they're like, we need this win. Let's drop this bomb, walk away. And people will forget about the cyber attacks, which are not going away anytime soon.
No, they're not.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last week a little bit.
You're
Yeah,
talking
so,
about a credibility issue.
yeah.
I
And
wonder
that's
how many companies are going to be in a world of trouble because they're going to want their employees to come back, and their employees are going to say no.
Right. Well, I think Apple is the latest one that said that
Yeah.
they're expecting everybody back in September, at least 3 days a week.
At
It's
least-
like, yeah, but of all the companies that you would expect that would keep
Be-
their people remote,
Yeah.
it would be Apple. And the fact
Erica,
that
are
they're
you back
saying,
full-time? Are you in a couple days? Or are you back full time?
So we just started what we're calling phase 2 of reopening. So that is encouraged return to work. So we are going to a new 3/2 model. Sorry, my wife is apparently eating chips. We are encouraging flexibility. So it's a really interesting dynamic right now. You're not required to be in the office right now. They want you in the office. Collaboration. I mean, as an engineering firm, it's a lot easier to have everybody hanging out in their cubes and doing their thing. But I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. Me personally, I am a 3-2 now, so I am at least 3 days in the office and 2 days at home, which is awesome because I love having the days at home. I think one of the biggest things that came out of the pandemic is how distracting being in the office is. Like
Oh,
it's
for
so
sure.
distracting. So, especially for me personally in my type of position where you have to do a lot of emails, a lot of documentation, a lot of focused research and stuff like that. Like when you're in the office and there's constantly people walking by or hearing conversations that you want to jump in, to have that time at home where you can just sit down, get in the zone and just knock stuff out is awesome. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, I found that opposite. Like when Stockton shut down and everyone went home in the beginning of the pandemic, I was at my wit's end being at home, trying to do my work. But also I think that goes to, unfortunately, my current living situation. I don't have a dedicated office. So
That's fair.
really I was sitting in where my wife was with the baby. I'm on my computer, either pushing code, updating firmware, doing stuff. And she's looking at me and going, well, help me with the baby. You're sitting there not doing anything. And which I understand what she's getting at, but I'm like, I'm actually working. I'm actually doing work. I'm not sitting here doing nothing. So I didn't have that break. I actually got more work done being on campus
Yeah.
than being at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too, James, especially since my son, like I said, he's 6 and he was doing virtual like 100% virtual kindergarten. So if I was home, I was helping him. Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
I was be able to do my job while I'm here because I'm playing teacher at the same time. Now my wife has been doing it way more, and so I give her all the credit in the world and applaud her for all that. But
what about you, David?
What about me? No, I'm just
What
kidding. Like working from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work from home every day, but my old job a year and a half ago, I did work in the office primarily, and I did commute into the office. So I get what people say where they're like, man, I just miss that person to person interaction, because it is very different. Like I'm at home, I'm young, I'm single, I'm in my office space by myself for like 8 hours a day. It'll drive you nuts, right?
Yep.
Sometimes I put the mirror in front of me so it looks like I'm talking to someone else in the house. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. I don't really do that. But like, but at the same time,
You need to turn your
working-
camera around and prove that.
no, I don't really do it. No, I just walk to the bathroom and I'm like, hey, how are you doing today? No, I'm just kidding. But like working from home, I mean, I don't miss the commute. That was just miserable. But like also like it's a little more flexible on when I can work, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
It's good because I can walk away and then pick something right back up and get back into the flow. It's really bad because when you go into an office, your brain is wired to be like, okay, I need to be focused between 8 to 5. Like your brain is wired that way.
Mhm.
So when you work from home, it's harder to keep that structure. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like going into an office helps you keep that workflow going, you know?
And when you
I'll
work from
admit-
home and you have a pool, it's really nice to go swimming sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
And wouldn't it
I'll
be
admit,
great?
I don't
No.
have a
And wouldn't
pool,
it be
but
great if that pool was like 115 feet off the ground? Yeah. So
I'd be down for it.
sorry, James, you were saying
Uh,
before we segue.
I wanted to agree with Dave, even though I didn't like working from home, that was one benefit I liked where, yes, I could, step away and address a need and, still put my hours in at work, still get the work done. But instead of being between, the 8 and 5 normal time, maybe it was to handle at 11 o'clock at night. Like where, okay, the kids are asleep, the wife is doing her own thing, and I can get that work done. And the way I look at it is, great. Like, does it really matter if I did between 8 and 5 or if I did it at midnight, as long as it's got done on a timely fashion? But I think the
Right.
segue you just had there, Tim, to the pool was great.
Yeah. Well, thank you to Erica for starting that. So we could take the dive into the deep end. So yeah, so it's now that time of our podcast, and this is a great conversation. Don't get me wrong. So I'm glad. Part of me is like, okay, this is gonna be great. We're just gonna talk about this for the entire month, and then we're gonna get so sick of it come July that we're gonna be ready to talk about anything else. So so great conversation for everybody here. So thank you for that. But it is time for the firing range.
Pew pew.
I love that. That's I listen to the podcast now, and that's one of my favorite parts of the podcast, by the way.
We miss
Pew
Kim.
pew.
That's Kim.
Yeah.
That's
her
Kim,
advice.
and
love it.
we miss Kim and hope everything's going okay, and can't
We
wait for her
look forward
to
to
get
having her
back.
back.
Yes, definitely, and her pew pews. I mean,
Well.
we're doing great as a filler, but we need the original. So, and this week comes to us from across the pond, to the 115 foot in the air, fully glass pool at the called the Sky Pool at the Embassy Gardens, 82 feet long, 46 feet of which are suspended in midair. And I shared this article with everybody, and then Erica found all the engineering statistics that came along with it. So thank you for that. So who's going for a swim?
Not a chance.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm leaving this.
Absolutely.
Not
I
a
am
chance.
there for it. I am there
Okay,
for it. So when
go
you
ahead,
read the
Erica.
article, it tells you on one side. So obviously people can't see the visuals of this pool, but it's two buildings, what did it say, 14 meters apart? I don't know how many is in feet. I'm sorry. I'm American.
A bunch.
It's a decent
82,
amount.
it's 82 feet long. 46 of that is suspended in midair.
Suspended. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So on either side on the buildings, there's one side that has steps that you can like walk into the pool, like you're just gonna like just sunbathe or whatever. On the other side is where you can actually dive in. Like,
Oh my-
dude, I am gonna stand on the edge of that concrete and jump as far as I can. So I'm literally diving into the middle where the glass actually is. Like I'm diving. Like it's like jumping out of
But
a
the water-
plane, right?
The water is only
Have a
4
panic
feet
attack
deep,
right now,
though.
just think about it.
It said in the article you could dive. I don't know. People, I
It's
mean, if you like
1.2
dive
the
at
water-
an angle, you're fine.
The water's, according to the one diagram that you sent us, the water is only 1.2 meters deep. That's like
That's
four to
why it's
that's
going
like
to
4 to
break.
5 feet. Yeah, it's 4 to 5.
I mean,
feet
my
deep.
big ass head, if I hit the bottom of it, it would break. But
I'm 6'4". There is no diving into that water for
I was
me.
gonna
There
say,
is
that's
going
what
in
I,
and cracking my head on the acrylic base,
a,
but
a
that's about
graceful
it.
belly flop, a graceful belly
I
flop.
told Tim when I first read that article, I said, my luck, I said, I'll get a 350-pound ex-Marine decides to do a cannonball right about the time I get to the middle of that thing, you know. And have you ever looked at acrylic? I mean, I'm wondering, would UV fatigue any of that? Because I've had a lot of acrylic stuff in the garden and things like that, and you give it a couple years and it's brittle and it looks like crap. So I'm just wondering whether
Well,
that
Renee,
will
aren't you the
affect
one?
things.
Aren't you the one who brought up earlier that at aquariums they use acrylic? Yeah, so I don't know if anybody's
your
ever been to the
article
Georgia
said.
Aquarium in Atlanta.
Mhm.
Floor to
Yeah, that's a
ceiling
nice
aquarium with
Mhm.
whale
Mhm.
shark, like whale sharks. We're talking like big AF MFers, right?
Mhm.
Huge, and like hammerhead sharks and great white sharks. And there's just this acrylic wall, just this little acrylic wall right in between you and all of this stuff that could literally eat you
Hey.
in one gulp.
I'm
10
sure
stories
somebody
above,
did-
Not 10 stories up here is the whale swimming. That whale is swimming
And-
10 stories above. I'm not walking anywhere near that building.
Yeah.
But
And there's a
difference.
there's a steel frame around that entire piece of acrylic as well.
Yeah.
So
But
Yeah, but if you look at the diagram that I sent you from that engineering website, there also it's very reinforced with steel, and it's got the oh my god, I forgot the word. Tendons?
Yeah, it's steel tendons,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's got the steel tendons underneath. So I mean, worst case
And-
scenario, you have your water shoes on with some suction cups. So if it breaks, you can start climbing back up.
Yeah,
Batman style.
you know, they do
It's
the
like-
same thing out at the what is it, at the Grand Canyon. Was it the Indian reservation that put the skywalk that goes out off the
Yeah.
edge there,
Yeah.
and that you actually are looking, I mean, it's not 10 stories down, we're talking about a bunch of stories down.
Yeah, I'm not doing that
That's
either.
true.
Not
Yeah.
doing that either.
Similar to
It-
Well,
that.
here's the thing. Like,
It would take a
I-
very large person to chase me out on that thing.
so a couple things real quick to go on Erica's things about the aquarium. If you guys didn't know, I actually for a couple years, about 2+ years, I was heavily into saltwater aquarium. I used to run a 54-gallon mixed reef tank. Acrylic is very susceptible to scratching, which then can damage the strength of it and cause issues. Fish, sharks, if you ever actually look at a true shark tank, as Erica even mentioned, it's curved. That's because sharks will bump into the glass if you don't make it curved. That's why any shark tank will be a curved tank. They have the curved rounds. And those animals, the fish and the sharks, are not going into the glass, scratching it. But humans, we will scratch the glass. That's why when you put coral into aquariums, they're a good buffer between that and the glass, because if they grow and scratch the glass, it could actually damage your tank.
Okay, but the thing is suspended between two buildings, so it's going to be anchored in two different places. Each one of those buildings has its own engineering dynamic. It's going to vibrate. It's going
It's
to
going to lean eventually.
move. It's
Yeah.
going to, and even if it's at the microscopic, that's all tension. That's all fatigue. Sooner or later, I'm just saying, this is this is an insurance company's nightmare waiting to happen.
Oh yeah.
So wait, so this is in London?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
At
But it
the-
was
at the
made in
US
America.
Yeah,
made in America for
By
at the-
Americans.
It's at
Okay.
it's
So-
at the U.S. Embassy in London.
Okay, so I'm wondering what
a
the
conspiracy
London
theory.
climate is like. Like, what if the wind, and then also like if it rains, like if you just look, like there's a YouTube video I shared in the chat, and like if you just look and it like rained, like there's not anywhere for you to go. You're just kind of stuck on that bridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the
Kinda
thing. Yeah,
scary.
where's like the filter and like where's the
You're not going to
Yeah, how
see
do they
any of
clean the
those on
water?
drawings. They're there. You just won't see it.
Okay. Yeah, but it's still
I don't
scary.
know.
I don't know.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't be the first one on this, but I'm sure as hell not going on this thing like 3 to 4 years from now. Like after, like Spence was saying, it's sitting out in the sun, like it's just being beat on by the elements. Like, and we're dealing with all the global warming and acid rain or whatever they're saying that we're gonna
Tectonic plates shifting all the
Yeah.
time.
in 4 years. This is steel cables or whatever tendons aside. This thing is not going to be the same. So
Yeah.
right now it's great. It's probably fine right now. But yeah, 5 years down the line, it's like, oh, we're going to need to take that whole thing apart and like replace all the acrylic. It's like,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, none of us will be able to swim in it unless you live in one of those buildings.
No,
And
that's
you
true.
have to wear a mask. And
And
not
be
the kind of
vaccinated.
As
mask
long as
you're
it's
thinking.
waterproof.
Not the kind that you're thinking, right?
Yeah. Well, I won't need the mask because I'll have the RFID microchip inside.
Yeah,
of
there
me.
you go.
Yeah,
That's
So I'll
exactly.
scan myself into the building.
clear.
one of us, one of us, one of us.
It'll be like amusement parks. Instead of you have to be this tall to ride, you have to have this clearance to enter.
Yeah.
Scan
Mhm.
right here.
Scan your belly buttons.
Yep.
Here we go, people.
Yeah,
I just,
Well,
that's
and
just-
speaking of amusement parks, I could get off of this. I mean, this is crazy and fun, and that's why it's a great firing range article. But yeah, speaking of amusement parks, though, Disney is like ready to go full gung ho on opening their doors and letting everybody in. It's full Frozen level. Like, tell the guards to open up the gates, and like, here we go. So, but go ahead, David.
No, well, this is going back to the chip thing. Like, I don't know if you guys watch like Futurama. I just always think of like how crazy it got in that show where like, you get the chip in your brain and they can read and like all the marketing
Yes!
stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's
Yes!
where it's all
Well, and that-
inevitably
what was that?
going, and we just are fighting it, but it's like it's slowly getting there every day. I don't know.
Yeah, what was it?
I'm kind of
Minority-
fatalist
Minority-
like that. Yeah.
Was it Minority Report was the one where they were scanning the retinas as you
Yeah.
came through, and they would adjust the advertisements based
Well,
on you.
how
I
many
think, as well.
times at trade shows did Renee Benson probably scan a badge or giving us all sorts of radiations, all this sort of stuff? I mean, we
The
got to
answer to
get
that
back
is
to
in
the good
Disney.
old days where we were
We'll have
scanning
We'll have to
each
ta-
other's badges.
we'll have to take it up with the manufacturers next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Now I'll have to get a scanning device that I can stand 6 feet apart. And still
That's
scan
right.
And get the,
That, which also then means it's going to have to be a stronger ray gun for you to do that. So there's going to be, and if somebody gets 3 feet, you've just zapped them even more. So good job.
Hmm.
it's gonna be interesting. I
it
do
is
feel
definitely-
like everybody is talking about Infocom and everybody's talking about Infocom like it's next month. Because they're so
Yeah.
excited to go. And it's like, we still have a ways to go to Infocom.
Yeah. We
But-
still have like 4 months to go, and
Because there's so
possibly a
much that
booster.
could still go wrong.
Well,
Oh yeah.
we're talking to some people that are going to be kind of picking up where the Digital Signage Expo dropped off, and they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do. And I don't think that they're planning on doing anything probably until 2022, to be quite honest. I'd be surprised if it was before. Now, I do know that we, as the Digital Signage Federation, we're going to do some regional events that we can control on a smaller basis. And we've been doing that for years. We're really good at it.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things that we recognized right off the bat, that this was something that we could continue to do whenever we started having those conversations about that other side of COVID. And so I think regional events you're going to see, and it would not surprise me to see some of these bigger shows maybe morph or modify their
Mhm.
models to regionals.
I agree.
Instead of shooting your wad all at one time in Vegas, for 3 days, that you could do things on a much smaller basis.
Smaller, but spread it out across the, spread
Yeah.
your seed out all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Spence, you're right, because a lot of shows are starting to do the hybrid model where it's like they have the in-person event, but they're trying to have an online portion to that event as well for
Right.
people who can't
Mhm.
physically be there.
That's right.
And I think that that's definitely going to be a permanent thing, but that's
Mhm.
also a bandwidth thing too. Like, it's hard enough to get enough people to man a show, let alone manning a physical show and then a virtual show at the same time. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Well, and I think that you're going to have to, I mean, education programs, we're still planning on doing a lot of educational stuff, both at the, if we do the bigger events or if we're doing regional events, but you're going to have to come up with a hybrid model, I have a feeling. And it's going to be
Mhm.
interesting to see. I talked to a couple manufacturers recently, and I think that they would they would be fairly interested in a regional type of get together or a regional model. They might not man it just as big as they did, on a big, huge 40 by 60 booth on the front row at Vegas, but as long as they felt like they were getting qualified leads.
Mhm. And that's going to be the big topic of discussion, is the value still there?
Mhm.
And that's something, we're gonna,
How do
we'll
you
hear
how do you
from-
attach value? That's what I think would be interesting to ask a
it's
manufacturer.
the ROI,
Yeah.
it's that, if there's that return of you investing your time and money and travel and whatever it is to get to these shows, are you getting the leads? Are you getting the sales to offset that cost?
Renee, when you
And
were traveling, did you feel what was your sense? That was kind of first time out of the gate for you for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chicago was. I'm opposite of a lot of people. I'm not really worried about anything anymore. I mean, I've had the virus. I know a lot of people that have had it and survived. Everybody I'm seeing has had their vaccines, or if they want to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. I was not afraid to get out.
No, but I mean, what were you seeing as far as you're on the opposite side of the table from you? Were they there? Were they engaged? Were they?
They were. And, but instead of doing a breakfast or a lunch and learn with 12 or 15 or 8 or 10 people, it was a breakfast for 3 people. It was a lunch for 4 people. It was
see.
coffee with 1 person. So I'm not touching as many people as I used to be able to touch in a meeting. And my company is being strict about, you better have several appointments before you make a trip, because
Mhm.
we're going to spend the money to put you in a hotel and on a plane and in a car.
Yeah.
There better be a pretty big impact, which
Well,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Do you feel it was successful?
Oh,
It was because for me, it was part of my territory that I had never had before. So I was meeting people for the first time. So for me, it was a success. But you know what we did? We planned for the next thing. And then the
Right.
next thing is going to be in their office, and it will be with the group. So was it as successful as it would have been a year ago? Maybe not, because I didn't hit as many people, but I don't know.
Mhm.
After being with nobody for a year, it felt
Right.
Yeah.
I was just kind of more
So
curious
let's,
about whether they were in
Yeah.
tune with you and wanting to be
Mhm.
there, and they,
They
the
all
opposite
were.
side of it.
What
Well,
I
let's
like
save-
about
let's-
sorry, can I say something?
go
real
ahead,
quick?
David. Yeah.
What I like about the smaller group interactions, and when you can meet with customers on a smaller basis, a lot of times the ones who will go are the ones who are interested in seeing you. So like when you go do, like, I'm a vendor, right? So when you go do a lunch and learn and you go see 30 people, sometimes 20 people are just in there because they're there. You know what I mean? Like they're not there to see you.
They're
But
there for
when
free food.
they're
They're
there
there for the
for
lunch.
free food. They're there
Just
because
like
their
college
buddy's
students.
there. They're there for a lunch break. But like when you go in a small group with them, they have to take time out of their day to meet you. They have to, take the time to be in front of you. So you already know going into the interaction, hey, this person is kind of already interested. You know what I mean? And I actually think it's a lot better type of conversation that way,
And I'm not doing a
'Cause-
PowerPoint presentation sitting at a coffee house. I mean, for the most part, I had some handouts or I could bring something up, but you're not doing a standard, hey, look at this kind of thing. It was more of a, where we at? Here's what here's what the future holds. Let's just have a conversation and then we'll do this again in a month or two when we can be in your office.
Was it significantly different on a small scale than what you were used to it before?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
did you have to
Yeah.
modify your presentation style?
Well,
Well-
most times I didn't even pull my laptop out. It was mostly like I had my line card and I would talk, but there was not a lot of electronic anything happening in the meeting.
Yeah, one thing I've learned too is that people used to have a lot of patience for long presentations. Now they're like, dude, I sit in so many Zoom meetings, like, please
Yeah.
don't go on a long tangent about your product. Just let's talk about the key points and then let's talk about other stuff. And it's
Yep.
like, okay.
And that's
know
a
that-
good segue
yeah.
into next week's.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I was like, let's not spoil it too much for next week.
Sorry,
so,
I
'cause we're
didn't
gonna-
know. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, it's okay, David. But I mean, you are more than welcome to come back with next week if you want more of this, and because you're on the manufacturer side. So we'd like to. That's what we're going to gear next week to. Is we're going to gear next week towards the manufacturer experience and talking about that return on investment, the value, and really just giving their time and seeing, give them their side of it, because myself, James, we're end users. We're end users and we're the integrators. So,
In-house
as it always
integrators.
is, the in-house integrator, yes. So we do both, but it's the manufacturer needs to be heard as well. That's so we want to give them their time as well. So I want to thank to David and Erica. It was a wonderful having both of you here tonight. And it felt good tonight, getting our conversations have been great the last few weeks, but having the firing range back and everything this week kind of made it back to a little bit of normal as well. So David, one last time, let the folks out there know where they can find you, and thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Love being on the podcast again. So I'm David Pequeño. I work at Sony. Still new, so still learning. But we sell in my division displays, projectors, cameras. I cover Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin. So you can find me david.pequeño@sony.com. I am also on Twitter now @PequeñoAV, and hopefully we'll start using it more. Like I said that last time, but I think each time I start using it a little bit more, so eventually it'll break through. And
Well, I think you got like 20.
CTS.
Awesome. And I think you have like 20 notifications for this show already. So, and Erica, thank you very much. And I know you were a little hesitant on some things, but I think we brought up some great points tonight. So don't worry about it. And that's what we're here for. We're the edgier side of higher ed AV. So
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. And just throwing it out there, especially Spence, no hard feelings, man. Sometimes I'm really bad about playing devil's advocate just because I
am
like to
too.
pick people's brains. Like I'm not doing it out of malice or anything. Like I just want to know. Like I'm just a curious human. So thank you all for all of your input. Very much appreciate it. Great conversation. It's nice to have space to be sassy and say the things you want to say, and have good back and forth conversations. So what you guys are doing is fantastic and I appreciate it so much. I wish I was still in my Mizzou days and I could provide more to the higher ed aspect of it, but I appreciate the time and space. Sign off, definitely check out hendersonengineers.com. We've got a lot of really great openings right now, especially at service desk technician and a software developer. But even though I'm not an engineer, we are still an engineering firm that does great AV stuff. So if you are into AV design and engineering, definitely check out the positions we have open. Again, that's hendersonengineers.com. If you want to check out my really random, not completely AV related rantings sometimes, you can find me on Twitter @haircutfw, or we can connect on LinkedIn. Just check out Erica Williams at Henderson Engineers.
Well, thank you very much, Erica. And yeah, your Twitter is always fun to catch every once in a while. So I'm like scrolling through. So and thank you to the crew. You know, it's a great time tonight again. And until our next adventure.